gives me every time.
Hi, I'm Jeff Sudbrook, and this is T3 Talk. We're at T3 Performance in Avon, Ohio. And today my guest is NFL quarterback Brian Hoyer. Brian, welcome back to the new T3 Performance.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I walked in here last week and was really just amazed. I mean, I had seen the plans, and obviously you guys opened up during the season last year, so coming back in after being away for a while, it really kind of took my breath away.
And that's one thing that I've only been with T3 for 2 years, but I understand you've been coming to the old T3 a lot longer than that. When did you actually start coming here?
Yeah, I think it was even before I started playing for Cleveland. Obviously, I knew of Mike and kind of crossed paths a few times, and then I heard he had this gym in Avon, and it was close to where I lived, and went out, and I was able to do everything I needed to do, even in the old facility. And then, like I said, I walk in here, and I'm literally, on a rainy day like today, if I had someone to come throw in here, I could do everything I needed to do as far as throwing. Obviously, the workout, running, and as we mentioned, even my son's old enough now where I can come and kind of drop him off, let him do his thing while I work out, and it's been a fun kind of bonding thing for us to work out together.
Yeah, that's awesome to see you come up here with Garrett, and I know he's taking a baseball lesson here right now.
Yeah.
That's just awesome to see you bring your son up here and be a part of what we're doing here at T3 Performance. Well, Brian, I want to get a little bit and talk about your NFL career. That's not where I'm going to start.
All right.
Where I'm going to start is right underneath this hat, and it's with this baseball, because everybody can Google Brian Hoyer and find out about your NFL career, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But one thing that amazed me when I looked at that, your days at St. Ignatius, you were a pitcher in a darn good one who as a sophomore won a state championship. Is that right? Can you tell me about that?
Actually, it's funny you said that, because not only is he taking a lesson right now, but he's been doing the Ignatius baseball camp this week, and it's brought back a lot of memories, and watching him play baseball really makes me miss it a lot. It was my first love. It really was. My summers were consumed with playing baseball. Multiple travel teams, tournaments every weekend, and it was something that I really enjoyed doing. And even up through high school, like you mentioned, win a state championship as a sophomore. Got recruited to play both at Michigan State. And by the time I got there, things just didn't kind of pan out. The football coaches didn't really want me to play baseball. Although during the recruiting process, they were all, oh yeah, you can do it. So I miss it sometimes. Obviously, I feel like I made the right decision, but it's always kind of fun to think, well, if I had, gone down that path as opposed to the football path, what might have happened? Because I really did enjoy it, and like I said, watching my son now play, it really kind of makes me miss it even a little bit more. Yeah,
well, obviously you did make a good decision. You've had a great NFL career, but I do want to talk a little bit more about that baseball, because you said you were recruited for both. So obviously you were putting out some serious stats. And I was just thinking on the way in today that there's under 100 quarterbacks on an NFL roster, right? At any given time, probably 2 or 3 per team.
Yep.
There's over 300 pitchers in the Major League Baseball roster, let alone the AAA and everything down like that. So what was your best pitch?
Well, for me, luckily I was able to throw pretty hard for always for my age. In high school, topping out around 92, 93. So having that and a good changeup, I really didn't need, other than the 3 and 4 hitters, that's when I usually would throw a curveball in there. But I never really messed around with it much. I remember hearing at the time, how it can affect your elbow, things like that. And like I said, fortunately for me, I was able to throw really hard, which, high school and travel baseball level, I was able to get away with it. But it's funny you mentioned, how many, 2 times 32, 64, and then you look at, the baseball, 32 teams, 5 starting pitchers. I mean, that's kind of where it kind of shifted me towards football. I said, look at the numbers. There's it's going to be hard to make it in baseball. And at the time, as an 18-year-old kid, I thought, well, there's a lot of people who can throw 92, 93, but I also didn't think about, developing and maturing as an adult. I probably could have learned to throw a little bit harder by training and doing those types of things.
Yeah. So obviously you spent a lot of time with football. Did you actually go to Michigan State and play at all on the baseball team? Or?
No, I remember getting done with spring practice and getting ready to go do baseball, and basically was told, you'll never be the starting quarterback here if you're playing baseball in the spring. So that was my real first moment to decide, what path am I going to go down, and I chose football.
Let's touch on that just one more minute before we get back over to the NFL career, because that's one thing we have a lot of athletes come in and ask us. We hear a lot of coaches talk about being a multi-sport athlete. Did you encourage that in junior high and high school and there? But, there comes to a point when you're a exceptional athlete, you do have to make a decision.
Sure. I think, for me, going back to like not having a son of my own, I will never get him into a specialized sport way too early. For me, at Ignatius, I played football and baseball, and I played basketball up through my sophomore year, and really the reason I stopped that was the football season would go into the basketball season, so I'd miss the first few weeks of that anyways, and then the basketball season, if you were in the playoffs, would go into the baseball season, and that was keeping me from going into my baseball. So really that was the only reason it was eliminated, is because the seasons crossed over, and like I said, football and baseball were my two best. I knew I wasn't going to go anywhere playing basketball, but I always enjoyed it, and I think there's so much to learn as far as I guess you call cross-training or playing different sports. Is you're training different groups of muscles, your body's moving differently, and I think that's something that's been lost upon us as a society today, because I think a lot of parents say, they see their kid doing well at 9, 10 years old in one sport, and they say, well, we're just going to focus on that. And I think not only do you lose the benefits of playing different sports, moving different ways, but I also think, kids start to get burnt out. For me, I was always ready to go to that next season. I was always ready for football season when baseball season ended, and then into basketball, and then it was kind of refreshing to go from sport to sport. And I'd be willing to, I don't know this for sure, but if I polled the players that I play with throughout the league, none of them, specialized in football starting at 10 years old and didn't play any other sports. Everyone played something else, whether it was track and field, hockey, lacrosse, baseball, basketball. Everybody played multiple sports that I can think of. I've never talked to one guy on any team that I played on that only played football in high school.
All right. I guess I eventually better talk some football here for a while. I can talk baseball all
sure.
day to anybody.
No, me too.
All right, so pretty soon, in a couple weeks, you're going to be reporting to camp on the New England Patriots, correct?
Right.
All right, so you're going to be back in that camp again. Tom Brady, the big talk about how many more years Tom Brady going to go. You're with Coach Bill Belichick. I mean, I know there's no hidden secret, but what is different about that New England Patriots club and Bill Belichick, and how are they so good year after year?
Well, I think for me, I have a unique perspective because I started my career there for 4 years, and then went along and played in several different spots, and actually played and had some success, but also never anything equivalent to what New England has. And now I'm back there, and I have such an appreciation for the way we work, for the way we're accountable for everything we do. It's just something that doesn't occur in other places, and for me to be more towards the end of my career than the beginning, and having that be the way I learned when I came in the NFL, and then trying to carry that with me to other places where it just didn't work. I have such an appreciation for obviously the coaching staff, the organization, but I remember walking into that locker room in the middle of the year last year and looking around, and really, the locker room was the same, and some of the names were the same, but the guys that were now the leaders of that locker room were guys that were young when I was there, and it's able to kind of, the young guys learn from the older guys and always have a good example to learn from, and it's just kind of a cyclical, I guess, path, because I look at guys like, obviously Tom, but you look at a guy like Julian Edelman, Matthew Slater, Devin McCourty, Dante Hightower. When I was there, those guys were rookies and second-year players, and they were learning from great players like Kevin Falk, Matt Light, Teddy Bruschi, Gerard Mayo. They learned from those guys, and then were able to, when those guys moved on, they stepped into those leadership roles. And the one thing I'll say about New England is the players hold each other accountable there. It doesn't take the coaches to do that. And I think when you have a team that, and I guess, talking to your audience, when you talk about high school football, any of those sports, college, when you have a team where players can hold each other accountable and the coaches don't have to do it, that's where you have a chance to do, some really special things.
So you're in a good spot right now. I mean, and I thought one thing that was cute here last week, we were talking to your son Garrett in the lobby, and we're starting to name off some of the cities
Sure.
that you've been at. And I mean, anybody can look at the different teams and the organizations you've been on, but I mean, you've had some ups and downs in your careers, where you've been, some times in between, where you were going to land the next spot. But obviously everyone, I'm sure, wants to, be the starting
Sure.
quarterback. But you got to be happy with the spot that you're in right now.
Yeah, like I said, I think for me it's a unique situation to be able to come back to a place that obviously I've always had a ton of respect for, kind of my birthplace into the NFL, and to be back with Tom, who's been a great friend and mentor my entire career. It was fun last year, and I think it'll be even better this year, having a full off season under my belt. Getting to know some of the guys a little bit better than I did last year, and kind of a whirlwind type of year. Spend a lot of time working out with them, training in the off season, and it's something that, like I said, where I'm at in my career, I definitely appreciate it for what it is, and to have that opportunity to be back.
I just want to touch briefly on your time with the Browns here, because I've been a Browns fan all my life. I remember when, like your dad, I'm
Sure.
closer to his age. I remember when Belichick was coaching the Browns and all those things, and the good years and the bad years. And when I look at that year that we were having with the Cleveland Browns under Brian Hoyer, and I believe, I listen to sports talk radio all the time, and it still comes up. Like we were 7-3,
Sure.
right? I mean, we were 7-3. I believe that was.
I think it was 7-4, but yeah.
7-4.
Yep.
Okay, you're right there in the hunt of things, and then changes were made, things fell apart. I mean, can you just recall that a little bit? I mean, I know you wish it would have went different,
Sure.
and where you could have led the Cleveland Browns that year.
Yeah, well, I think, for me, the biggest thing that I've learned over these 10 years is the NFL is a business, and there's some things that are never in your control, and that's just one thing that I've learned to accept, and it's made my life a lot easier to accept things that, there's things that I can't control, and I'm going to worry about the things that I can control. So obviously it would have been great for me, for my family to have stayed here and not had to move, but I also think it's built a lot of character along my career path. Like you mentioned, you deal with adversity and you learn from it and you move on, and I think that really allows you to develop some things that maybe some people who don't have to go through that, they just don't have. So, for me, it's something I'll always cherish. You mentioned, you remember when Bill was coaching here. I remember when Bill was coaching here. So for me, that's special to be able to go and now play for him. But it was also a special time for me to play for the team that I grew up watching.
Okay. So Brian, I wish you all the best of luck. I know
Thank
you're going to continue a couple more weeks of working out here at T3 Performance before you head off to camp, and I know Garrett will be working out here too. But it's great that you still make this your summer home, I should say, or your year-round home pretty much, when you're not on the road and playing football and the family lives nearby here. But we thank you so much for what you do here for T3 Performance, and I know every time a kid or an athlete here will say, "Is that Brian Hoyer?" yeah, that's one of those jerseys hanging there, because we have your autographed jersey you gave us hanging up here, and it's just awesome to have you here, and the way you interact with everybody and the different athletes here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We wish you the best of luck this year with the Patriots, except if you play the Browns. I wish you luck then, but we know as they say, you're just one snap away from being back in there on a world championship contender.
Thank you, and thanks for always being welcoming to me, coming back and working out here. Like I said, for me, the old facility was good enough, and now to come in here, it's like I'm almost spoiled, because I can do everything I need to do, and very similar to an NFL-like place to train, and I can come in here and get everything done and not have to, that was the one thing about the old place. I'd have to go and maybe do running and throwing somewhere else, unless I want to go outside for the day and get some sun. I can come in here and work out, run, and throw and get everything done and not have to go from place to place. So I appreciate you guys always, being welcoming and having me here.
Great, works both ways. My guest has been NFL quarterback Brian Hoyer. I'm Jeff Sudbrook. We're at T3 Performance in Avon, Ohio. Thanks for watching T3 Talk.